In the last month or so, I've made a pretty sizable investment into upgrading my videography and photography setup, and I've realized I've basically got the ultimate run and gun setup here. There's a couple of outstanding items, but probably 95% of it is here. And I figured let's just jump on in and I'll show you guys what's all on this list. I'll make a new playlist called Gear, and then as time goes on, I'll get into each individual item and just let you know how things are going with it. But there is a lot of money sitting on this table, and let's just jump on in. So first up, I've got the Sony FX3 for my video setup. I just picked this up very recently. I got it slightly used and saved a few bucks on that, which was great. My other body is a Sony A7 III. I've had this since 2020. In love with this camera for the photography side. The video can be quite good at times, but it's a little bit weaker in that department. But regardless, a great B video camera slash A photography camera. Next up, getting into lenses. I just also picked this up. This is the Sony G Master 14mm. This is going to be mainly used for architecture and real estate, and I maybe should have gotten the 16 to 35, but I'm going to start with this and just see how it goes. The other one, this has been my main lens for quite a few years now. This is the Sony 24 to 70 G Master. This is the version 1, which is a lot heavier than the new one that came out, but I still love it. It's an absolute tank, just a great lens. This I just got. This has been the one that I've wanted for a lot of years now. This is the Sony 100 to 400 G Master. I got it slightly used. It did not come with a lens cap, or sorry, a lens hood, but the image quality on this thing is just breathtaking. I'm so excited to have that thing. And then the other lens that I just picked up, also got this used and got a really good deal. This is the Sony G90mm macro. So this is a great macro lens, but also just a great all-around lens. The image quality and sharpness out of this is pretty shocking. The nice thing about all of these lenses is that they fit on both of these Sony cameras. So whether I'm doing photo, video, or a combination of the two, it's kind of nice that I can throw those on either one. And another nice thing, they share the same batteries. So I've got 3 of these. The FX3 is definitely more of a battery hog. So realistically, I can do a lot of shooting with the A7 III on one battery, and then you know, have a couple for the FX3 depending on what's going on. Next up, I've got the DJI RS3 mini gimbal. This I'm pretty happy with. I haven't used it a ton. It might be a touch on the light side. This is a very heavy lens here, and it technically will use it. It's well under the max weight rating, but I couldn't get it to really properly balance. It does handle it okay, but I probably could have gone to a bit beefier one, but honestly, for the price, this thing is probably going to be just fine for now. Next up, I just got one of these gray cards. These things are very nice to use for getting a white balance, or you could use it as a bit of a reflector if you needed to. Nothing fancy, but happy to have that. Next, let's get into drones. So I've had this Mavic Mini 2.7 for probably 3 or 4 years now. I'm actually on my 3rd one of those. The first one I was flying pretty low on water, and it just got confused and dropped in and disappeared. And luckily DJI replaced that for me on warranty, which was very nice of them. Next, I was using it one time in a very tight little canyon, and I was just basically using it as kind of a tripod in the sky, and I think the GPS signal got confused because all of a sudden it just started flying itself sideways into the side of a mountain, and again DJI replaced that once I sent in the flight logs. There was some sort of mistake or whatever. I don't know what exactly happened, but either way, luckily they replaced it again, which was really nice of them. So this is a 2.7K. It's not a 4K, but it is still capable of really good images. It's a lot cheaper, which is kind of nice for a bit more dangerous shot where I don't want to risk the big one. And also, it's just nice to have a backup. You know, sometimes you just need to look at something. It's not necessarily about image quality. and I'm pretty happy to have it. This came with the, I think it's called the Fly More kit, so I've got 3 batteries for it, and the triple charger, which is nice. So if there was a situation where I needed to scope something out and then pull out the big drone to get the shot once I've got the setup figured out, or whatever, it's just nice to have. I kind of want to get into one of those DJI Avata 2. I really would like to get into the FPV stuff, and if I do, I might get rid of this little drone, but either way, it's just a good addition to the bag right now. This remote that it comes with is kind of annoying. You have to put the cell phone on there and it works, but I sure am happy that I went to this upgraded remote with the built-in screen. Just picked this up. This is the DJI Mavic 3 Classic. I got a really good deal on it. We're just right at the beginning of when DJI is going to be releasing a bunch of new drones. So they were kind of clearing out the old stock, and I got a really good price on that. One thing that surprised me about this though is in daylight, I think it only goes down to about f11. So really ND filters are absolutely mandatory. There we go. So yeah, it comes with 4. I recently filmed a pretty nice time-lapse shot into sunset, and I think I had the 32 on there, which seemed to work fine. This is really quite a big launch forward in terms of technology over the old 2.7. It's got some obstacle avoidance stuff going on, which is great. This thing will just fly itself into whatever. It's also got cruise control, which for me in the time-lapse stuff has been a massive feature. Really pumped about that. I will say though that the technology is not quite there on the drones. Some of the features that they offer, it's cool that they have them, but I mean, this thing will still fly itself into a tree if it is kind of fine branches and it can't see it. But either way, we're definitely heading in the right direction. Image quality on this thing is absolutely bananas. I was basically sold on getting the Mavic 3 Pro, and realized that if I went with the Mavic 3 Classic, I could add this, I used one, but I could add this 90mm macro lens to the kit. So honestly, I figured that was better than going with the Mavic 3 Pro, and no regrets. Anyways, so yeah, 3 batteries with the little drone. I've only got 1 battery with the big one. It was a bit of a stretch to be able to get both of these, but the battery life is shockingly good on this. If I'm going out to film something, just, you know, to get a shot of whatever, there's more than enough battery to play around, and I'm generally ready to go home. If you were doing some sort of sporting event or something that required a ton of filming, obviously you're going to need more batteries, but this has been more than adequate for what I need. Next up, let's get into, oh yeah, I guess we still got the GoPro stuff. I do a lot of adventure sports things for fun and put footage on other channels that I have. So I've got the GoPro 12. This thing is still great for whipping around on a dirt bike or mountain bike stuff. I've got a helmet mount there and a few other accessories, lots of batteries. And this little tripod slash selfie stick has been great. Dual charger there. So this for action sports stuff has been pretty awesome. Getting into some audio stuff now. I've got the Sony, I've had this for a few years. This is a little hot shoe mic. It's kind of nice that you don't need to plug anything in externally, and it's just powered through the camera. So I've had this as long as I've had my A7 III, and it just sits on the hot shoe there and automatically works. This has been great. There was a bit of a learning process at the beginning to not shake the camera too much, because it can make some noise, but if you're reasonable and fairly smooth, it's a good usable piece to have. Next up, I don't use this a ton. I've had this for a long time, but this is a little Zoom H1N. If you're just doing kind of action sports stuff, like, you know, you're using the drone as a tripod in the sky and gonna whip under it with a dirt bike, it's kind of nice to just leave this on the ground and you can get the visual side as well as some decent audio. So not the most high-end Zoom, but it's pretty darn good and, you know, pretty affordable. It's just nice to have in there as a backup. I've just picked up this stuff. This is the Sennheiser AVX. which is kind of nice. It's got a plug-in for XLR. I can also take this mic and plug it into this. So if I needed to have somebody walking away and didn't want to use this whole setup for some reason, that's also an option. And then I've got a spare battery for this. A lot of this stuff was purchased slightly used, and that includes this AVX setup here. Next up, I've got this handle slash XLR input that I got with the Sony FX3. So one of the things that I still need to get would be a different shotgun mic. If I can have this set up, plugged into there, recording, and then maybe have a shotgun mic on there as just sort of a ambient sound kind of thing going, that would be good. And I do need to get that. It's not a huge emergency, but in the meantime, I will pick one of them up. Next up is a set of these headphones. I've had a couple pairs of these over the years, the Sony MDR-7506. These things are super comfy. They sound great. Always been happy with those, and definitely continue to use them. Next up, we're going to get into a couple of tripods. This is a very cheap one that I just got. Obviously not a good fluid head for panning or anything, but just for you know, time-lapse stuff, doing photography. It's super light and portable. I can just throw it in a backpack, and I can just put the 2-second timer on the camera if I was trying to take a picture, and then there's no shake, and just a good usable backup thing. Or if I'm doing an interview, I can put the A7 III on there as just kind of like a second angle in an interview situation. Next up would be my bigger tripod. This is a Manfrotto 055, and it's got a pretty decent video head on it. I like to use 2 handles. I had to order a second one. I just find it's a lot easier for controlled panning stuff. And I have done a lot of that kind of live events and just panning and tilting around and needing to make it all pretty smooth. I find the second handle is very useful. So yeah, that's basically a walkthrough of what we've got here. I've got obviously a couple of these light panels. Actually, I've got 3 of these with stands and sandbags and whatnot. But generally speaking, you know, I can film up close macro stuff. I can film from a distance. Overall, this is a pretty versatile setup for the kind of things that I do. Great for action sports stuff and that kind of thing. And yeah, let's now jump in. I'm going to throw this all in the bags and just show you guys how well it all crams into a tight space, and just the unbelievable portability of this setup. Okay, I'm just going to hop over to the FX3 with the 24-70 G Master. And I had actually mentioned at the beginning that there were a couple things missing. I do need to get some sort of shotgun mic. Not a huge emergency, but I do need one. Another one that's kind of a downside with all these different lenses is ND filters and polarizers. This particular one I think is an 82 mil. I think this is a 77, and this is different, and this one kind of has this bulbous lens on the front. I'll show you. So you can't really put like a traditional filter on there. For the ND side of it, they've got the ones that go in the body. And again, now that I'm running 2 different camera bodies, that complicates things fairly dramatically. So that's a little bit up in the air what I'm going to do for filters. But in the meantime, I have a lot of work to just get used to this gear, and we'll kind of figure that out as we go. Okay, so right now I've got you guys swapped over from the iPhone 15 onto the Sony FX3 with the 24-70 G Master and that hot shoe mic. And I have to mention, this is definitely an important player in the whole camera thing. A lot of times if I'm out riding mountain bikes with my buddies or whatever, I just want to grab a quick shot. And the image quality on even this iPhone 15 is so far beyond the stuff that was available when I was first getting into videos. My first video I edited was with 2 VCRs and an old 8. It wasn't even a high 8. And then there was high 8 and then digital 8 and mini DV and on and on and on. So I do have to note that although I'm not doing a lot of paid work with this, this thing is definitely a heavy lifter. for me, I've had millions and millions of views on my other channel with just basically using one of these. So that is an important part. Anyways, let's start jumping into showing you how all of this stuff fits into a couple of small camera bags, and it is actually pretty amazing. It took me a while to figure this out, but I'm just going to go ahead and start putting it all in there. I generally put drones and GoPro sort of adventure sport lightweight stuff in one small bag, and then audio lenses and camera bodies in the other. Let's just jump on in and show you how she goes. And the nice thing is I'm able to get all of this stuff with chargers, everything like that. So it's a very self-contained, easy to use setup. So one of the nice things about the Fly More kit for the DJIs, these are actually extra ones for the big drone, but I will keep those in there. They usually come with some sort of case, which is very handy. So we'll fold this up. I can't believe how small this thing seems now compared to the other drone. Oops. So the battery charger doesn't fit, but this does make for a pretty nice compact little setup. Okay, so this is the little bag that I use for drone and adventure sport type stuff. This thing is kind of weird in how it opens up, and I wasn't really a fan of it at first, but now that I've got it full of gear, I kind of like it. So this will unzip from both sides, so you could have a slot here to open if you wanted to, or you can just kind of open it up. So I will generally put the little drone in here like that with the triple charger. Get that all zipped up. And then the remote with the screen for this actually lives in the same pocket, but you can also access it from the top, which is very cool. So I got that zipped up, everything all clicked back together. Like that. And then once this is standing up, you've also got this top slot that opens up. So I will put the main drone up here, but if you can see in there, this pocket actually unzips. If I can figure out how to do it. There we go. So this unzips into the main pocket. You can see the little drone. So I'll keep this remote with the screen up so it can't get scratched. Toss that in there. And I can zip that up. And anytime I want to zipper is a little bit finicky in there. Anytime I want to grab the drone out, I can just open this zipper up and grab the remote control for it as well. I can tuck that in there nice and safe. And actually, before I forget, these ND filters live in this handy little slot here. So I got all that in there. Okay, now I will generally, this thing has a pocket back here, which is probably designed for a laptop. It's definitely a bit too small for mine though. It comes with one of those rain covers, which is nice, but I'll put my GoPro with the case in there, and then I'll fill this full of chargers for the drone. Okay, so all this stuff will live in there as well. This is the charger for the Mavic 3 Classic. This is a charger for the, I think this is for the remote for the little drone. And then this would be for the batteries for the little drone. And then I've got a chest mount for a GoPro. That all tucks in there pretty well, and then I'll probably throw the dual GoPro charger in there as well. Okay. And then side pockets here, I'll throw my 4 GoPro batteries. If you're wondering why one of them's white, this is the Enduro battery, which generally I would throw in first. And if I'm going to a bike park or mountain biking a lot, usually this is going to get through most of the day. Okay, so that's this one here now. Oh, I forgot to put in my little GoPro selfie stick thing. This thing is super handy. Okay, so that's there. 2 drones, batteries, chargers, a whole bunch of accessories, everything like that in this tiny little bag. So that is spectacular. Actually, also forgot my helmet mount. I'm going to throw that in there as well. Okay, and then there we go. That is a very self-contained little camera bag. It's super lightweight, so if I'm backpacking or on a mountain bike or whatever, this is a great setup. Obviously, you know, if I need to incorporate a camera and a lens into this, I can pull out that other drone and reconfigure it to suit my needs. But in terms of storage and just having easy access to this kind of stuff, this has been a super good combination. That other bag, by the way, was a Kata. I'm not sure the model. This one here is a Neewer, which is the same brand of light panels that I have. This would have been a fairly cheap thing off Amazon. I've had this for almost 5 years, 4 years now for sure, and used it a ton, and it's holding up great. The zippers and all that kind of stuff have been very good, no complaints at all. Okay, so we're going to start getting into what would go in here. This is going to be camera bodies, lenses, audio gear, and gimbal, and I can't believe that all this stuff actually fits in here. It's pretty amazing. But let's start with Sony headphones. These can go in there. Okay, that tucks in there nice. I always keep a lens cloth or two just sort of floating around in here. Next up, my Zoom recorder can live in here. I always actually take this foam thing off, and I'll show you why in a second. And next up we'll go 14mm lens tucked in right there. Then we have got the macro right there. Next up we got A7 III with the 100 to 400. This is going to live. I always put it lens side up, so when the bag's tipped up it's not rattling around and it could maybe knock the lens off and scratch the UV filter, which I don't want. So that tucks in there very nice. And then next up I've got the FX3, which would live right here, as I'm sure you can see. So I'll show you a shot once that's all put in there. Okay, next up I have got this little slot here, which is very handy. So I've got some batteries that would go in there. Actually I have a case for the Zoom recorder so that doesn't get all scratched up. That lives in there. Next up, I pull the little tripod feet off of this RS3 Mini gimbal, like so. And then because this has got the threads poking out, I don't want that to scratch anything, so I put this little microphone cover over it like that, just to keep everything nice and safe. Next up, I've got a couple of lens covers for the body or for a lens if I ever had to have it off for some reason. And then I've got a battery charger, which is awesome for the camera batteries. For years, I've just been charging it in the actual camera. When I got the FX3, it came with this. And especially now that I have 2 cameras and 3 batteries, theoretically, if I'm camping or running off generator power or out in the middle of nowhere, I could have all 3 plugged in and charging. And if I needed to get it done quickly, I could. But generally speaking, I'm going to avoid plugging in the camera more than I need to. I should also mention in the FX3 that we're running right now, I've got 2 320 gig cards, and then those are the CF Express Type A, and then I've got 1 card in this. Those are the Lexars in the FX3, And this one, I need to get a second one for this now, but this is a SanDisk 256 gig. Never had any issues with that, and no complaints in terms of storage and stuff. It's just been a perfect match for this camera. Okay, so there's that. Now let's zip this up. The gray card fits in here, which is nice. Keep it clean. And that just kind of tucks in there. Got that all zipped up. And let's jump over to the other side. Now, when I first got this gimbal, I'm pretty new to gimbals, and they're such a weird shape. I just did not know how I was going to be able to use this. So what I've figured out is that if I balance this for the 14mm lens, which is primarily what I'll be using for real estate and stuff like that, I had to move this over, actually this one here, so that it can fold up. And I know that it needs to be just below 14 on this scale there, and I'm able to balance it really quickly. But basically, if you go like this, and then these have got dual locks, which is nice. Now all of a sudden this is pretty flat and pretty manageable. And very luckily, it will just fit and live right in here, which is great. So I have to be careful with it. I wouldn't want to drop it or have any of this stuff get bent, but I am always careful with this bag anyways. Before I do that, we're just going to pack up some of the audio stuff. So I've got this adapter here for the FX3. This just lives down in this slot. Again, I think this is probably designed for a laptop. Next up, this wireless Sennheiser stuff will all just live in this little slot here, which is great. Got a few extra wind socks and things like that in there. Try and keep it so it doesn't get getting all scratched up. Okay, so that is ready to go. Lives in this slot also. And then this is the mic that I'm using right now, the hot shoe, that would live in there. And this goes in like that. Zip that up. Actually, I forgot to put... one of the issues with two cameras that I will say I was not expecting, but just the base plates all the time. If you're putting something on the gimbal, you know, it needs its own base plate. If you got whatever different tripod working, that's something that you always need to think about a little bit, but it's not that big of a deal. Got this something going wrong here. There we go. Okay. So now that's all packed up and in there. Okay, so now we're back over on the iPhone. I've got the FX3 in there, 14mm, 90mm headphones, 100 to 400. So everything fits in very nice. Snug as a bug in a rug. Zip this up. And then gray card just fits perfectly in there. This could not have worked out any better. That just tucks right in. Zip this up. Okay, and then the final piece is this little mic, the hot shoe. Just lives in this little case. Keep everything nice and safe, and then that tucks in here with the other mic stuff and with the gimbal right there. So zips up. And there you have it. I mean, in those two little bags, that is a lot of gear. Obviously, I've got this tripod. I mean, if I'm out and I really need a tripod, generally I would just bring that. I'm filming myself quite often on a dirt bike, on a mountain bike, whatever. So something like that can just fit in one of these slots. If I have a vehicle there, or I'm going for a bit more of a formal sit-down thing, obviously I bring the bigger tripod and some lights or whatever is required. So as you can see, just a super portable setup. A couple of bags, easily just grab them and go. Throw a tripod in there, throw some lights in there, whatever you need, but most of the time this is what's coming with me, and it's pretty cool to be able to have this quality of gear. I mean, I can get amazing drone shots. unreal footage with the FX3, great photography with the A7 III. You know, there's a couple of items missing. I got to sort out some filters, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. I'm definitely open to suggestions. But with having 4 different lens sizes, that's going to get expensive. Having a lot of ND filters and stuff like that around, but we will figure that out. And also I need to get a shotgun mic, but overall, I mean, what a versatile setup for just a super compact form factor. Anyways, thanks for coming along. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Like I said, I'm going to go through each of these items over time and just make a video about what it's like to use them and how I'm feeling about it. And if you guys have any requests or whatever you'd like to see, some comparisons or something like that, just let me know. Thanks for coming along. Please give me a thumbs up and a subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.